Peace Foundation.
The champagne was uncorked, the bands played and played. Last night, President Reagan gave his supporters reason to celebrate. It's official. He's a candidate. The campaign is underway, and we'll learn more about the decision this morning from campaign official Drew Lewis, Maureen Reagan, and our panel of experts. Jesse Jackson will be joining us, too.
You bet.
Good morning to all of you.
Monday, January 30th. Good to be around, isn't it? We're going to get our own perspective on the events of yesterday. We'll hear from veteran basketball players as they play once again in an all-star game. Helen Hayes, a growing trend of American men who enlist the services of mail-order wives from Asia. One reaction to the feminist movement in the United States. We're also going to have a review of Broadway Danny Rose, Woody Allen's brand new movie. All that and more coming up. Let's get the news first.
The guessing is over, no more hints. President Reagan finally came right out and said it last night. He's running again with Vice President Bush as his running mate. Bill Plant has our report on that from Washington.
Late last night, President Reagan, in a paid political broadcast, ended the suspense over his intentions.
Vice President Bush and I would like to have your continued support and cooperation in completing what we began 3 years ago. I am therefore announcing that I am a candidate and will seek re-election to the office I presently hold.
Campaign workers and supporters watched a giant TV screen in the ballroom of a Washington, D.C. hotel as the president explained the reason for what he called a difficult personal decision.
Our work is not finished. We have more to do in creating jobs, achieving control over government spending, returning more autonomy to the states, keeping peace in a more settled world, and seeing if we can't find room in our schools for God.
And afterward, in that ballroom full of supporters, jubilation. While some of these people may believe that the president will have an easy time of it next November, the political professionals around him do not think so. Those advisors believe the president's own personality is his most formidable weapon, but they feel vulnerable nonetheless, particularly because of the situation in the Middle East. Mr. Reagan's advisors believe that this will be a close election. Bill Plant, CBS News, Washington.
The president has apparently decided who his Democratic opponent will be, even if the Democrats haven't. In an interview in Newsweek magazine, Mr. Reagan singles out Walter Mondale. He tries to be all things to all people, says the president, and makes more promises than can possibly be kept. Mondale and the other Democratic hopefuls were quick to react to the president's re-election announcement.
The Reagan record is clear. He can't get away with it. His promises and his deliverance are two different things.
If we decide to give Ronald Reagan 4 more years, I say shame on us as a people.
As far as I'm concerned, each of us would do a whale of a better job than Ronald Reagan.
American people won't be fooled by a man who is admittedly a master on the television screen.
This administration has been very unkind to the poor, to the young, and to the old.
To me, the president's statement that America is back is just not good enough.
In other candidate reactions, South Carolina Senator Ernest Hollings said the only things the Reagan administration will leave to the next generation are dreams, deficits, and a dangerous world. The U.S. Marines fired back this morning when their positions at the Beirut airport were attacked. 2 Marines were reported slightly injured. A spokesman says the American compound was the target of mortars and rocket-propelled grenades, which were answered with tank and small arms fire. Earlier in the day, the airport was closed briefly after a shelling left 3 people hurt. In the Queens section of New York City, a bomb damaged a Motorola Electronics repair center last night. 5 minutes before the blast, an anonymous caller told United Press International that the bomb was set by the United Freedom Front, which has claimed responsibility for other bombings in the area. He said the U.S. should get out of El Salvador. No one was hurt in the explosion. The torch is passed, or we should say is being passed. The Olympic torch was lighted in Athens by the rays of the sun in the ruins of an ancient temple where the games were first played 2,760 years ago. And 10 runners, including for the first time a girl, helped carry the torch on the first leg of its journey to Sarajevo, Yugoslavia for the Winter Games. The torch was put on board a plane and was carefully tended. We'll be back in just a moment.
Time now 5 minutes past the hour. Born on this date, Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Vanessa Redgrave.
For the finest in quality custom draperies, call the Drapery House. You'll find the style you desire with a large selection of colors, textures, and fabrics. With your imagination plus the expertise of a Drapery House designer, your window dream becomes a reality. Your wish may include blinds, woven woods, or even a custom bedspread. All available at the Drapery House. Call 255-2844 for a shop-at-home appointment. The Drapery House, 4th and Lafayette.
Drapery House.
Hi, folks. All of us at Star Chrysler Plymouth want to thank you all for making 1983 our best year ever. And now we'll make 1984 yours. If you give me $99 down and $129 a month, I'll let you have this 1982 K car. And how about this 1982 Citation? It's gorgeous, folks. Only $99 down, $129 a month. And this 82 Honda Station Wagon, $99 down and $129 a month. If you call me now.
Now 6 minutes past the hour. In the NBA All-Star Game, the East beat the West in overtime. And in the NFL Pro Bowl, it was a romp for the NFC.
Let's continue the spirit that began last night and get some perspective on Ronald Reagan and the Republican Party, going back far enough to compare them both with the phoenix, the mythical bird that arose from its own ashes to thrive even more powerful than before. When Richard Nixon waved goodbye to the White House in 1974, he left behind a party decimated by Watergate. The Republican Party was broke. It had to close its doors briefly just to save up money to buy stamps for fundraising letters. Only 18% of the American people would even admit to being Republicans. The party considered changing its name. Ironically, the 1976 battle between an incumbent president and challenger Ronald Reagan stirred interest in the Republican cause again. An aggressive direct mail campaign funded the revival. The party doesn't have to scrimp to buy postage anymore. Now the Republican National Committee sends out 30 million pieces of mail each year. 1.4 million people regularly send in their contributions. As fast as you can say, Ronald Reagan. He is the biggest fundraiser the party has ever had. The Republicans have invested in the political future, an enormous computer system containing the voting record of every precinct in the country. Television commercials broadcasting the party's message.
Well, this time, I am going to vote. And you better believe it won't be for the Democrats.
Vote Republican for a change.
The party spent $11 million on ads like these in 1980, the year it won control of the Senate and threw the Democrats out of the White House. The Republican media campaign has continued through the Reagan years.
I think we should stay the course.
Stay the course.
I say stay the course. Stay with Reagan. We stay the course and give him more support.
President Reagan has made only a beginning, but he has kept his word, and it is a beginning. For gosh sake, let's give the guy a chance.
And let's talk about Ronald Reagan's campaign strategy now with a man that some sources are suggesting could be the chief of staff in a second Reagan term. He is the former Secretary of Transportation and the Director of Strategy for the Republican National Committee. Drew Lewis joins us this morning from Washington. Mr. Lewis, so good to see you.
Good to be here.
Did you have any doubt last night? Did you tune in on tenterhooks?
I sure didn't have any doubts, but I've been very disappointed if it didn't turn out the way it did.
Well, let's talk about general strategy. Is this going to be a Rose Garden campaign or a full court press, not to mix my metaphors?
Well, I think it's going to be a full court press, obviously, for all of us in the campaign staff. It's clear that the president is going to continue to be presidential throughout the spring, and we're going to hit the trail, I guess, later in the summer and the fall, but he'll be campaigning all the time, nonetheless, as you know.
And campaigning out in the country?
Out in the country.
And do you expect him to participate in debates? There's some evidence that it's a foregone conclusion there will be debates.
Well, of course, that has not been finally decided yet, but the indications are that there will be debates.
Are you assuming that Walter Mondale is going to be the opponent?
I have assumed that all along. Obviously, you never know, as President Dewey indicated after he lost the election.
Right.
So we don't know where we are, but nonetheless, we think it will be Mondale.
And what about your calculations for his vice presidential choice?
I really can't say at the present time. It's obvious that there are a few key states, and I think he'd head to one of those states to try to pick up somebody so that he could win potentially a Texas or an Ohio or one of the key states in the Midwest.
Which problem, and we've heard a number of them mentioned by various analyzers of the campaign, gender gap, deficits, worry about bellicosity. Which problem do you think is the biggest problem the president faces in this campaign?
Well, I think more than anything else, as an incumbent president, you don't have quite the advantages you have as you look at it from the outside. You're running on your own record. We happen to think he has a very fine record, both domestically in terms of inflation being down and interest rates being down. And we also feel that we're in better shape internationally because we have strength for peace. So I don't really see any major issues. You never know. You have 9 months to go and the election's November 6th.
But in general, what worries you the most?
I think just the fact that we're in a presidential election. I'm confident the president will win, but I also recognize when you look at the registration throughout the country, the Democrats have been very successful. The registration's up about 8 million. There are more Democrats than Republicans, and when you enter an election on that basis, you always have a tough campaign.
And I have to ask you before we let you go, are you going to be the chief of staff in a second Reagan term?
I'm sure I'm not going to be the chief of staff.
Is you declining the offer? You're sure you're not going to be offered?
I haven't been offered, and I don't anticipate being offered. I think we have a very fine one with Jim Baker, and I hope he stays.
But he said he's not going to.
Well, you never know. A lot of people say they're not going to stay, and they do.
Drew Lewis, again, our thanks to you. It's good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
We'll go to Steve Baskerville now for the morning's weather.
Diane, winter is very much alive and well, especially up in the upper Midwest. There's another storm that spread about 6 to 8 inches of snow in general from South Dakota through Iowa and is moving now into Illinois. That's where the storm is centered. Snow falling now in West Virginia and parts of Ohio. That's where the big weather problem is today. As you take a look at the clouds for the last 6 hours or so, you're going to notice that that storm is really developing. This one is really just rain showers down in the southwest. Not too much of a problem. A good day ahead in the far west and the deep south. No rain today. What about the stations reporting? Where's the snowfall now? Most of it is moderate, and it could be heavy as the day wears on, and most of it is in that area of clouds as that storm moves eastward and towards South Jersey. That's where it is at the moment. Those rain showers in eastern Texas should be clearing up. Only flurries up here in the northeast. There are some concerns about weather to watch and heavy precipitation. Most of that should be where that band is, 3 to 6 inches in the Ohio Valley, about 1 to 3 in the eastern states and parts of New England. Now that's a look at the national scene. Here's a look at some weather temperatures and forecasts for some locations across the nation.
The Nashville forecast calls for considerable cloudiness, windy, and turning colder today. Temperatures will fall into the low 40s. Tonight will be fair and cold, with the low about 22, and tomorrow sunny and cool, the high around 42.
Thank you, Steve Baskerville in Winnemucca, huh?
That's right.
And you have in the next half hour coming up?
We're going to look at some high temperatures and maybe a peek at tomorrow as well.
Great. It's about 13 past the hour. We'll have Jesse Jackson in a moment.
It took a sudden death playoff for Gary Koch to win the $400,000 San Diego Open. And on the pro tennis circuit, John McEnroe defeated Yvonne Lendl to win the U.S. Pro Indoor Championships.
You know, only seems like yesterday when I played a marshal named Matt in a town called Dodge. Hard to believe, but we started that series 28 years ago. Time flies by so fast. There's one thing I've learned. If you don't prepare for your family's security, you can bet they'll never get it. Well, thanks to Academy Life's new family security plan, anyone between the ages of 45 and 75 can give their family the security they deserve. By combining term life insurance with accidental death coverage, this plan provides big dollar benefits at rates nearly anyone can afford. For example, a 50-year-old man can buy $9,800 of insurance protection for only $5 a month. And he can buy 4 times that much, regardless of his health. Look, we've worked hard all our lives to provide for our families. We've given them a lifetime of wonderful memories. The last thing we want is to have those memories tarnished by debts, worry, or insecurity when we die. Honestly, I don't know why anyone wouldn't enroll in this plan. It's so easy. And yet, it can be so very important. This free information packet will only take a few minutes to read. But oh, the difference it could make in your family's future. Please, call for it right now. Here's how.
Call toll-free 1-800-228-3600. 1-800-228-3600. The information kit that Mr. Arness spoke of will be mailed to you free with no obligation. That's 1-800-228-3600. 1-800-228-3600. This is a free call.
Time now 16 minutes past the hour.
Now that President Reagan has declared his intentions, the Democratic contenders have something real to sharpen their beaks on. Jesse Jackson is not exactly the current front runner, but he is one of the top Democratic newsmakers at the moment. He joins us from Washington. Good morning, Mr. Jackson.
Good morning.
Maybe we'd better clear up the federal audits story. You commented on it yesterday. Is it true, and very often these stories come out and we can't nail down exactly the facts, is it true your records are impounded by the federal government asking for a return of $800,000 from Push XL because of inadequate accounting and $1.2 million unless it's documented?
That is simply untrue. The fact of the matter is that Push XL is engaged in the stage of where the audit is unresolved. That is, we have 5,000 unresolved audits between Departments of Education and Labor, worth about $213 million. So the Push XL matters coming to a closure. At this point, it's really a debate between our accountants and their auditors, a very orderly, routine procedure. When it's over, we hope not to owe them any money. If we do owe them some money, we will pay them, but it's so routine. Here they're isolating a $1 million discussion in the context of $213 million being owed in that same type arrangement. And I would think that the continuous pushing of the issue, and it's really old news, really is a form of harassment.
Well, certainly you're very much in the news today, and another thing that was included in the report was the contribution from the Arab organization.
Well, you know, that's a kind of double standard. On the one hand, the New York Times says that there's nothing illegal about it. There's nothing illegal about the contribution to the Push Foundation, which is not a contribution to me. I'm not a member of that board. I'm not a member of that staff, receive no benefits directly from it. If it's nothing illegal, then what is the point? You know, when these congresspersons and university professors and editors go to Israel at government expense, it's never a matter of discussion. Mr. Sears, Mr. Reagan's former campaign manager, is on a $500,000 a year retainer with the government of South Africa. His current manager was on retainer with South Africa, and yet it's a kind of non-issue. Mr. Mundell is a $100,000 a year man with controlled data, which does extensive business in South Africa. I mean, is there any correlation? I think not necessarily so. And if that is true, we should not be subjected to the game being played by two sets of rules. The idea of making one group vulgar, another group virtuous is just not fair. We should be afforded equal protection within the law.
But it has happened, and because of the very sensitive political position that you're in right now, are there going to be any Jews left in the Rainbow Coalition?
But one should not assume that Jewish people are so irrational and so unfair that they would look upon me negatively. If the Arab League can contribute to Harvard and Georgetown and universities and other institutions of education, can they not contribute to the Push Foundation or to Push XL? When Jewish people contribute to those causes, it's considered honorable, and indeed it is honorable. Just as we had to form a civil rights movement to protect blacks and Hispanics from being projected as vulgar, I had to develop the Anti-Defamation League because Jews were kind of projected as vulgar. Now the Anti-Discrimination League for Arabs, because there's always this attempt to kind of violate some people. I do not think it's fair. I think it's a form of discrimination. And so long as we operate within the law and that we use public monies to serve the ends of our stated purpose, it's obviously perfectly all right.
There's something else here, and it's more unspoken or implied. Push is your organization. You've tried to distance yourself from the board, and you have admitted that you're not a detail man. You say you're a tree shaker, not a jelly maker. Doesn't this work against you in trying to run for the presidency?
But that's not necessarily so. First of all, the Push Foundation is a sovereign organization. It has a chairman, Darrell Grissom, a board of directors, and it operates on the other side of town, legally and physically. And I'm not a member of that organization, and it is not accountable to me. It should not be deprived of its sovereignty in any measure. On the other hand, the Push XL board, I'm chairman of the board, non-paid. Dr. Mary Berry is president, Dr. John Hope Franklin, Dr. Frank Hale, Dr. Alvin Poussant, Mrs. Camille Cosby, a very credible group of people who, in fact, have committed themselves to serve to motivate our children. There's one thing that is clear: we do motivate children. We do work with them. We do work for them. And so whether it's Bill Cosby making a contribution, Don King, the Arab League, or whether it's Jewish organizations or church organizations, it's perfectly all right. What's really implied is something other than the legal acquiring of the money. What's really is acquired is some notion that it is somehow vulgar and wrong to relate to Arab Americans. And there's something all right about relating to other Americans. And I think it's just not fair.
Thank you on that point. Mr. Jackson, thanks for joining us.
You know, we really set this interview up to talk about Reagan this morning.
In a moment, a spy in the Republican camp.
Now exactly 21 minutes past the hour. On this date in 1933, The Lone Ranger was first broadcast on radio.
Housecraft Aluminum Company presents the home of James Shelton in Nashville, Tennessee. Mr. Shelton had bad lumber, poor insulation, and needed new gutters and shutters. Housecraft replaced the bad lumber, caulked and sealed around all the windows and door facings, covered his trim, and installed new gutters and shutters. While this job was done some time ago, Mr. Shelton is still one of Housecraft's many satisfied customers. If you have similar problems, call F.H. Dickey at Housecraft Aluminum Company in Nashville at 226-7000. If it's long distance, call collect 24 hours a day.
There's something extra for you on Eyewitness News at 10. There's stories that can lift your spirits as we share the lives of interesting people.
Gatlinburg.
There's stories that can increase your understanding. Update. Uncover. Stories that take a little extra time to tell in detail. Be watching for something extra on Eyewitness News at 10. From the friends you can turn to. Channel 5.
Time now, 22 minutes past the hour.
Juanita Crabb, mayor of Binghamton, New York, is a mole of sorts. She's a Democrat. Because of a White House mistake, apparently, she was recently invited and attended a top-level briefing for Republican mayors and shook hands with President Reagan. She's visiting us this morning to reveal the deep, dark secrets of the Republican elite. You say it was the learning experience of your life.
Yes, that's
Tell us
right.
about it.
Well, I went down to Washington as part of the United States Conference of Mayors. And during that time, I received an invitation to attend this top-level briefing and also a reception at the White House. The invitation stated, however, that it was for the National Conference of Republican Mayors and elected officials. We responded, and you do have to go through a security check, and I thought at that time, if they meant that the elected officials were to be of the Republican Party, that they certainly would let me know. But not letting me know, I attended both sessions and found it extremely interesting.
Why?
I feel that as a mayor I should know as much as I possibly can about especially the federal government, because most of our budget does come, about a third of our budget does come from the federal government. So this was a way of finding out about the programs in the purest form.
And what did you find out that they were telling other Republican mayors?
Well, the people that gave the presentations were high-level staff people, secretaries of departments, deputy and assistant secretaries, and they were very, very bright, very articulate, very competent, and really believed in what they were doing. However, they did go over statistic after statistic, detail after detail, data after data, and one of the things that they did leave out was people. And I have to go back to Binghamton and face the problems that people have, in particular in cities. People are hungry in cities. People are without homes in cities. People are without jobs in cities. And they come to see me as mayor. I'm the closest to them. And in Binghamton, New York, I want to be able to give them some type of hope.
Do you feel that the problem of hunger, was not appreciated?
One of the approaches that they did take was Secretary Block said, we have to make sure that we give these statistics out. The media does not understand these statistics. So when asked about hunger, make sure you tell them the statistics.
Well, you've been telling us. Thank you very much, Juanita Crabb. A learning experience of your life, indeed.
Thank you.
Nice to have
I
you.
appreciate you asking me.
Good. We'll be back.
This is an Eyewitness News update brought to you by the Sandman, Tennessee's sleeping giant for more than a decade.
Good morning, I'm John Megley. In the news at 6:25, no travel problems expected today, though it will be cooler than it was over the weekend and not nearly as sunny. Look for considerable cloudiness, windy, and turning colder today. Temperatures will fall into the low 40s. A narrow band of light showers, too light to see on radar, extends from the southeastern part of Kentucky near Stearns to Crossville, Tennessee. Movement easterly at 30 miles an hour. We'll have more weather in just a few minutes. A tentative compromise on the master-teacher plan should be high on the agenda tonight when the fourth week of the special legislative session begins. On Saturday, top officials of the Tennessee Education Association and key sponsors of the House reached the tentative agreement. The apparent accord includes an across-the-board raise for teachers of more than 10% and a state review by a board partly made up of other teachers that would evaluate teachers who enter the proposed Career Ladder program. The TEA has opposed the master teacher plan since it was first introduced by Governor Alexander more than a year ago.
Sandman Distribution Center has been Tennessee's sleeping giant for more than a decade, and we thank you. We offer a large selection of quality sleep products at low overhead warehouse prices. 612 coil, 510 coil, 352 coil. Come in today and select the size and firmness that best fits you. And Sandman's 30-day lowest price guarantee will let you rest assured that you've gotten the most for your money. Sandman Distribution Center, 328 4th Avenue South.
After a 13-year study, the Federal Communications Commission has decided not to require television stations to air a certain amount of programming geared toward children. As Penny Preston reports, that decision is being protested by a Southern Baptist spokesman and heralded by a Tennessee broadcast representative.
Any Saturday morning in any household with children, this is what you're likely to see. Kids watching cartoons. Back in 1970, a group called Action for Children's Television petitioned the Federal Communications Commission to improve TV offerings for children. After 13 years of inquiry, the FCC has decided to let the broadcasters decide. There will be no requirement of a certain amount of children's programming.
This was the only kind of children's programming when I was a child, and I spent many a happy Saturday morning watching cartoons. You probably did too. So you might wonder, if it was good enough for us, why isn't it good enough for our kids?
It's not that I'm opposed to cartoons. I just like to see more creative children's programming.
Harry Hollis of the Southern Baptist Convention's Christian Life Commission says most children's programming now is junk food television.
I think what's happened is that the children are being neglected.
Thomas King of the Tennessee Broadcasters Association says government has no place in dictating programming.
The public itself governs what they get, because a television station lives and dies by the numbers.
King suggests the parents should decide for the children, not government. Hollis suggests government legislation should pick up where the FCC left off. So the argument over children's programming continues, and so did the Saturday cartoons. Penny Preston, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
Members of Washington, D.C.'s black community supported Fisk University over the weekend. A local radio station there asked listeners to phone in contributions to the financially troubled school. Fisk's president told potential donors that the school had fallen into money problems because it dared to be different.
Unfortunately, because Fisk has dared to be independent, has dared to be outspoken, and has dared to be private and proud and historically black, Fisk has suffered.
Yesterday morning, the congregation of the Shiloh Baptist Church passed the offering plate on the school's behalf. Efforts to raise money for Fisk were accelerated last fall when the school's debts approached $3 million. Let's look at our present weather conditions. It's 48 degrees and partly cloudy in Nashville. The relative humidity is 58%. The wind is from the west at 23 miles an hour, gusting to 30, and the barometer 29.76 and rising. The Nashville forecast: considerable cloudiness, windy and turning colder today. Temperatures will fall into the low 40s. The wind will become northwesterly at up to 20 miles an hour, and it could be gusty at times. Tonight will be fair and cold with the low near 22, and tomorrow sunny and cool, the high around 42. Our next news update will be at 7:25. I'm John Megley. Have a good morning.
This was an Eyewitness News update brought to you by the Sandman, sleep products and brass beds.
Being here. I think that this is something that's really been, should have been done a long time ago. There's never been a real link between the past and the present.
You remember Earl the Pearl Monroe? It's good to see the old timer again. And now you know why the games belong to the young by watching these guys. In the last half hour, and this half hour rather, Mike Lupica joins us to look again at those magnificent men of the round ball. Dolph Schayes, Earl Monroe, many others. I like to see them again, for one.
It was great, especially the ones that were really out of shape. that gave me intense pleasure, too. More on the presidential announcement in this half hour, a kind of free-for-all with three of the nation's best political reporters right here. And Pat Collins will have the entertainment news. But now the day's top stories.
The job is not yet finished. And so saying, President Ronald Wilson Reagan formally announced his candidacy for re-election last night.
It is your right and responsibility every 4 years to give someone temporary custody of this office and of the institution of the presidency. You so honored me, and I'm grateful. Grateful and proud of what together we have accomplished.
The president spoke of his record of lowering inflation and strengthening the nation's defenses, and he said George Bush would again be his running mate. The campaign seems to have already started in earnest, even though the Democrats have not picked their candidate yet. President Reagan, in an interview with Newsweek magazine, apparently feels Walter Mondale will be the Democrats' choice, and he said of his would-be opponent, he has tried to be all things to all people. And Mr. Reagan added, he has made more promises than can be kept. Mondale replied that it's just beginning to dawn on this administration that they're in trouble. He said the president has a record he can't run away from. 2 Marines were slightly wounded this morning during an attack on the American compound at the Beirut airport. The shelling came from nearby Druze positions, prompting retaliation by U.S. tanks. After treatment, the wounded Marines returned to their posts. The airport itself was shut down earlier in the morning after a shelling injured 3 people. Egypt will accept an invitation to rejoin the Islamic Conference Organization. That word this morning from President Hosni Mubarak. 5 years ago, the group suspended Egypt because of the Camp David agreements with Israel. Mubarak has repeatedly stated that his country will continue to honor those agreements. In Jacksonville, Florida, the city's water supply is threatened by cancer-causing PCBs that have been released in a chemical fire. Jerry Levine of WJXT has our report on the blaze that destroyed a local factory.
The cloud of flames produced a column of smoke that could be seen up to 20 miles away. Firefighters battled the blistering mass for more than an hour as drums filled with chemicals swelled and then exploded, sending tainted smoke skyward. Fire, health, and police officials all believe at least some of the drums contained PCB, a suspected carcinogen strictly regulated by the Environmental Protection Agency. As the blaze was being tamed by streams of water spiked with a special foam, some of the PCB chemical ran along the ground, flowing into a nearby culvert filled with water.
The only risk we've got right now is stopping all this contaminated water from going in the sewers and in the ditches out here.
3 months ago, a federal grand jury indicted 3 officials of the American Electric Corporation on 24 counts of defrauding the Department of Defense by illegally dumping PCB-laced oil. 2 workers who were inside the plant have been hospitalized for treatment of burns and smoke inhalation. While the fire is out, questions about its cause remain unanswered. A Florida State Fire Marshal will be on the scene later this morning. Another question which remains to be answered by health officials is what effect, if any, the dispersion of PCBs will have on the public health. Jerry Levine for CBS News, Jacksonville, Florida.
Traces of the pesticide DDT have turned up in fish and wildlife in Texas and may endanger coastal breeding areas for fish. Investigators suspect the DDT is being smuggled into this country from Mexico. The U.S. government banned the use of DDT 12 years ago. Singer Michael Jackson is recuperating from second and third degree burns to his scalp in a terrifying accident. Jackson's hair caught fire during filming of a television commercial. From Los Angeles, Andrea Neverson has more.
While singer Michael Jackson was recovering at his home near Los Angeles, fans waited outside, hoping for a glimpse.
We're just hoping to see him to make sure that he's okay, you know, just to see for ourselves that he's all right.
I just felt sorry for him, so I wanted to come bring him some flowers.
Jackson's doctor said at a news conference he was surprised the singer wasn't injured more seriously when his hair caught fire Friday night during the filming of a cola commercial. Jackson was hospitalized briefly for scalp burns, but now is being treated at home.
Michael Jackson is resting comfortably after having 2 nights of undisturbed sleep. He has been responding well to treatment. As stated before, he will not require any immediate surgery at this time. Any reconstructive or cosmetic surgery in the future will be based on any scar tissue formation or any lack of hair growth.
Jackson had been belting out his hit song Billie Jean when special effects fireworks went off nearby, setting his greased hair ablaze. His doctor said blurry videotapes of the accident indicated the fireworks did not malfunction, but were touched off at the wrong time. There's no word on whether legal action will be taken, but Jackson sent word he's thankful for his fans' support. Andrea Neverson, CBS News, Los Angeles.
24 before the hour. We'll continue in a moment.
And next, Ken Pruitt with worry about interest rates. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by Super Polygrip.
My most embarrassing moment with my dentures, my wedding day. I started to say I do and my upper plate nearly fell out. I thought I'd cry. That's when I got Super Polygrip. Super Polygrip gives a real firm hold and also helps keep food from getting under your dentures and irritating your gums. Since my wedding, I always use Super Polygrip.
Super Polygrip helps keep food out, dentures in.
I hate to cry at weddings.
They say I've got great hands, but when it comes to managing money, I'm all thumbs.
A lot of people who are good at making money are not that good at managing it. So at Money, M-O-N-Y, we help you plan the tax-sheltered investments, savings, and insurance programs you need for now and later on.
I give advice to the lovelorn every day, but the way I manage money would break your heart.
Money helps you manage money, so your money will do as well as you do.
Time now, 37 minutes past the hour.
And as this campaign gets underway in earnest, as you know, there is a lot of talk about the deficit and what kind of interest rates it'll produce in the long run. Ken Pruitt has a report on a new study on just that question.
Well, the analysis comes from the Conference Board, Diane, an analysis of government spending. It points at higher interest rates to come. The Conference Board says the federal deficit will stay at the $200 billion level for the next several years, and that's assuming the economy remains strong. If there's another slump in a couple of years, as many economists expect, the Conference Board says the deficit will be closer to $300 billion. For the current fiscal year, which began last October, the analysis says the government will spend $865 billion, but take in only $675 billion. That leaves a gap of $190 billion. Government borrowing to cover the deficit at the same time business borrows to meet an expanding economy is the kind of thing that pushes interest rates higher. White House advisor Alan Greenspan said recently the question is not if, but when interest rates will rise. The stock market enters the new week with the Dow Jones Industrial Average at 1230, down 29 points last week. The Dow's down 40 points in the past 2 weeks. Gold is down 25 cents an ounce in London this morning at $369.25. Silver unchanged at $831.50, and the dollar mixed today. Bill?
Ken Pruitt, thanks for the business. Let's go to the weather, and we have some snow in the forecast for parts of the country.
I tell you, Bill, it's only like a couple days left in January, but winter is really kicking up once again, especially in the upper Midwest. As you take a look at some of the scenes behind me of the arrows and the L's on this map, that L represents the low pressure system, which is a storm, already dumped about 6 to 8 inches of snow in this direction by 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon, it should be moving towards South Jersey and on up the coast. Could be about 3 or 4 inches in places like Philadelphia and New York City and southern New England. At 25 is for Buffalo, New York. That 34 is for New York City. In the 50s and 60s for the Deep South. Generally today, the high temperatures should be pretty good for this time of year. 30s across the mid-Atlantic states, 60s along the Deep South, and the 70s once again in Florida, 30s around the northern Rockies, 50s, 60s, and 70s as you go farther to the southwest. Beautiful weather for this time of year out in this part of the country. Now, the weather to watch will only be in this far extreme. The high winds behind the storm are really kicking up to 40, 50 miles per hour, and the storm warnings are going to be in effect for most of the Ohio Valley. Winter storm watch in effect as that storm moves on into New England by late tonight. The cold wave sinks into the Deep South. That's a look at the national scene. Here's some temperatures and forecasts for some locations across the nation.
The Nashville forecast calls for considerable cloudiness, windy, and turning colder today. Temperatures will fall into the low 40s. Tonight will be fair and cold, with the low about 22, and tomorrow sunny and cool, the high around 42.
That's a look at some of the cold temperatures and weather worries we have today. I'll look at the nation in the next half hour, region by region.
One of the great moments, Steve, you may not remember it, but last year came when Al Hunt predicted that Ronald Reagan would not run for president. We'll hear what he says today in a few moments.
Time now 19 minutes before the hour. On this date, in 1835, an assassination attempt was made on President Andrew Jackson. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by moist, delicious Duncan Hines muffins, blueberry and bran.
What you making?
I'm making spicy apple muffins. They're new from Duncan Hines.
Where's the apples?
Right in the mix. And something extra good in the mix means extra good taste in the muffin.
Delicious apples and spices are now in an extra good, extra moist Duncan Hines muffin.
Well, how do you like those apples?
Delicious.
Something extra good in the Duncan Hines mix means extra good taste in the muffin.
Grandpa, how come your new Citrus Hill orange juice tastes so yummy?
Because at Citrus Hill we squeeze yummy oranges. Oranges all full of sunshiny sweetness. But do you know how long it takes them to get all sunshiny sweet?
A week?
More like a year.
A whole year?
Yep. You see, honey, oranges take sunshine and turn it into sweet, delicious juice. More sun they get, the more naturally sweet our new Citrus Hill orange juice gets. So I make sure Citrus Hill oranges soak up the sun
for a whole year.
Because all that sunshine makes for juice so full of fresh orange aroma.
So sunshiny sweet.
That's right. You can taste a year of sunshine in every sip.
Is Grandpa coming with us to the movies?
He can't, Mommy. He has to watch his oranges get sweeter.
New Citrus Hill orange juice. There's a year of sunshine in every sip.
American Express presents...
I gotta catch a plane. Projected. You'll see a list of the managers and the various graph form.
I gotta catch a plane.
Next time you make plane reservations, use the American Express card and United Airlines advanced check-in. Because you'll already have your ticket, boarding pass, and seat assignment, you can go straight on the plane. With United Airlines advanced check-in, you'll have a few extra minutes next time you...
Gotta catch a plane.
The American Express card. Don't leave home without it.
Time now 17 minutes before the hour.
Well, the battle is joined now, and so the Democrats officially must face the question, can Ronald Reagan be beaten in 1984? And not only must the candidates face that question, but our own fearless, formidable trio of political analysts will have to face it as well this morning. As we welcome them from Washington, our own CBS News correspondent Bob Schieffer, Al Hunt, who directs political coverage for the Wall Street Journal, and Eleanor Randolph, national reporter for the Los Angeles Times. Again, I welcome to all of you. Good morning to you. Eleanor, let me ask you to start. What did you learn last night from the 5 minutes on prime time?
Well, actually, I don't think that I learned that Ronald Reagan was running for president. I think I learned that about 2 months ago when Parade magazine came out, and there was the President of the United States
in a T-shirt, pumping iron, sort of saying, "Eat your heart out, John Travolta." I think that's when I knew he was really running for president.
Al Hunt, I guess you learned something from the announcement last night, didn't you? Want to eat a little crow for us?
Diane, you probably think it's easy to be the Warner Wolf of political prognosticators. It's done Warner well. I hope it does me as well. I suppose I started to weaken a little bit as all the signals began to point towards the re-election announcement, and I wasn't totally surprised at 10:55 last night. But I thought really that the themes for his re-election were struck in the State of the Union message 3 or 4 days earlier.
Bob Schieffer, what does he do from now to the convention? They're all acknowledging, the campaign officials, that Walter Mondale, in their mind, is going to be their opposition. Does he sustain an attack on Walter Mondale now for the next 6 months, or does he wait?
Diane, I think what's going to happen for the next 6 months, I think he's going to stress that he is the president. We'll see a lot of Ronald Reagan out in the Rose Garden, like we saw a lot of Gerald Ford in the Rose Garden. He will do some travel spectaculars, as Richard Nixon did in 1972. He's going to go to China. I expect we'll have a lot of photo opportunities on that trip. He will stress that he is the president, and he will run as the president. And then Drew Lewis said just a little while ago this morning on this broadcast, as the summer wears on, then he'll begin to get out into the country. It will start as a Rose Garden strategy. It will end up out with a very well coordinated campaign around the country, I think.
Eleanor, what about the next 6 months for Walter Mondale?
Well, for all the talk about Mondale attacking John Glenn, he spends most of the time on his campaign trail talking about Ronald Reagan, and it's been pretty tough talk. Last week, he said that the Reagan administration had been the Khomeinis on women's rights. He's also very strong talking about the fairness issue, and he's quite compelling when he's giving a speech on that. He talks about competitiveness of the American economy abroad, and he also talks about what he says is not a problem, but the problem, which is war and peace. And I think those are going to be his 3 themes.
Al, what do you think? Is war and peace the problem for Ronald Reagan in this election?
Yeah, I suspect, Diane, there are 2 potential problems. First of all, he starts in very strong shape. 2 potential problems. One is war and peace. Particularly if the Marines are in Beirut in the fall, that spells trouble for Ronald Reagan. The second problem, and it touches on something that Eleanor said earlier, the age problem is not there now. This man looks terrific, but he's 73 years old. If he gets a serious cold in the fall, then I think it might become an issue. Just one more point that I think, though, that when you turn to the assets that he is the first incumbent since Dwight Eisenhower not to have a challenger within his own party, and I think that just gives him an enormous flexibility that Jimmy Carter didn't have in '80 or Jerry Ford didn't have in '76.
Al, you know, there's one other, and Diane, we may see something very unusual here that we haven't seen for a long time. If Walter Mondale does wrap up the nomination in the middle of March, I'm not saying that he has, but a lot of people think he might, we may see a general election that begins in the middle of March rather than on Labor Day, as they usually do. It's going to be a very interesting situation, I think. It might, in fact, be the kind of campaign that we all talk about all the time, and that is a campaign on issues. We might really begin to listen to what the Democrats are saying and what the Republicans are saying. You can make comparisons for a long time. I think it's going to be a fascinating turn of events if that happens, and it might.
There will be some personality issues that will come out, I think. Primarily whether Walter Mondale is too cautious and whether Ronald Reagan sort of jumps the gun on international matters.
As long as your previous guest, though, the Reverend Mr. Jackson, is around, I'm not quite willing to talk about the general election in March.
Well, I think that's right, and that's the wild card in this whole situation.
All right, Bob, Eleanor, Al, let's meet again here in a few weeks and take up the cudgel again. Great to have you. Always good to hear from you. Back in a moment.
It's now 12 minutes before the hour, and next, the Babe Ruths of basketball.
When you've got a friend that's down, there's no better pick-me-up than this beautiful Wish and Well bouquet from FTD. Hey, Fred, great game you played. Oh, too bad you ran into that goalpost. I brought something to cheer you up. It's an FTD Wish and Well bouquet. You know, you're looking better already.
Time for our medication.
I'm not Fred. He's next door.
Excuse me.
Nobody ever sends me flowers.
We'll send you flowers.
The FTD Wishin' Well Bouquet, only from your FTD florist.
Now from Warner Lambert.
Could your denture cleanser clean a triple stain of cherry, tea, and tobacco?
I don't think it would.
Extra Strength Efferdent removes the triple stain.
It cleaned beautifully. I'm going to switch to Efferdent.
Efferdent removes even stubborn stains between teeth.
Also from Warner Lambert.
Fran, I'll be with Dr. Sims.
Wait a minute.
What's wrong?
You need the breath deodorant.
Only Clorets has Actisol with chlorophyll and helps your mouth's own freshening power eliminate bad breath.
Thanks. Anytime.
For fresh breath fast Clorets.
Now 10 minutes before the hour.
In 1946, the New York Knickerbockers beat the Toronto Huskies 68-66. That was the first professional basketball game ever played. Now, those were the days before shot clocks and short nets, slam dunks and sports agents. A whole new ball game now, as fans saw this weekend on the first NBA old-timers game. Mike Lupica is here this morning to tell us where the game has been and where is it going. Sounds like a great afternoon.
It was a fun weekend in Denver. By the way, how'd you like that Knicks Huskies? You were at that game, weren't you? Yeah.
I don't go back
quite
that far.
It was a very fun weekend, it looked like, in Denver, because what you got sort of was a whole history of professional basketball in this country. It's like going through the family album and, you know, oh God, isn't it cute to look at Dolph Shays? And then you see the whole progression. And it was interesting to me, the juxtaposition of that old-timers game and the slam dunk competition, you know, because there was a time when basketball was sort of played on the ground, and now it's these guys now fly jets. There's Earl Monroe getting hammered by his old teammate.
Now,
Dave
these are the
DeBusschere,
old-timers.
Sure.
They don't get up quite as fast as they used to.
They don't get up and down the court quite as fast.
Oh!
There's Tommy Heinsohn, who doesn't look like he's missed one meal since he retired.
Or
Rick Johnny
Barrett.
Kerr.
Yeah, maybe they're...
who decided to play with a basketball inside his jersey.
Hey, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw that. Here he drives.
Dolph Shays, who was the oldest player in the game, whose son now plays for the Denver Nuggets.
How old is he?
I don't know. Older than both of us.
Still has a good eye.
Monroe again.
How long?
Rick Barry.
Yeah.
Rick Barry, who looks like he's ready to play right now.
He does. Of course, he's not that long out of the game, is he?
No. And he's lost 20 pounds since he started playing.
Why is it good for the fans to see these, for the fans to see these?
It's a great frame of reference. I mean, this is not a very old sport, you know, so you can't reach back into the past of baseball and bring back, you know, the roots. But the vivid memories of these guys playing, stacked up against what the players can do now, I think is enormously interesting. And I think fans had more of an affinity for basketball at the time when the DeBuschers were playing and the John Havliceks were playing and the Oscar Robb. The game looked like it was more available to them.
Well, how would you compare them with the players today?
Oh, I think some of the great players of the past could stack up fine now. But I think also that there are just more good, talented players now, and the level of skills. Oscar Robertson, shooting right there, would have been a star in whatever era he played in.
He could play great. Elgin Baylor, of course, the same thing.
Here's a wonderful move. I mean, he was doing Dr. J before Dr. J came along, as you can see by that move right there. And there's David DeBusschere, who's just merely, I think, the greatest power forward ever to play the game. But it's just, as I say, it was like watching World War II flying aces with their white scarves flapping in the breeze, as opposed to these guys now who just fly big jets and do these wondrous things in midair, as we saw all afternoon in the All-Star game. Here's Pistol Pete Maravich,
he still has
who could do a few things in midair himself.
You bet. Earl the Pearl was there. He's one of your favorites.
Arnold Auerbach, by the way, got very upset with the officiating, which means that he ran the course even at the age of 65. He stormed off the court screaming at Normie Drucker, the official, after his team lost by 2 in the old-timers game.
Best basketball player of all time?
To my mind, my favorite was Earl the Pearl Monroe. When I first came to New York, I got to cover Earl Monroe for a whole season. And the guy couldn't run, and he couldn't jump, and every time down the court, he would just do these incredibly jazz riff-type things. It was so much fun to watch, and he still got a little of it left.
He may have started it all when we speak about the flying Dr. J and things like that.
Bill, when he came along, nobody had ever quite played that type of jazzy game the way Earl did. He was the first to put some rock and roll into basketball.
Mike Lupica, thanks very much. Good to look back, isn't it? We'll be back in a moment. Pat Collins.
6 minutes before the hour. In our next hour, Maureen Reagan joins us live. Pat Collins with Helen Hayes and the annual migration of the gray whales.
There's the big one, huh?
Wake up, wake up, wake up with Downy Flake. Wake up with Downy Flake.
Wake up to the get-you-going taste of Downy Flake breakfast foods. Delicious golden toaster waffles and fluffy light toaster pancakes. All ready to pop up in the toaster and say, wake up.
Wake up, wake up with Downy Flake.
The questions are always the same. Which investments to make and when? But the answers depend on you and your goals. That's why the wise investor forms a lasting relationship with a firm that can react to the ever-changing financial marketplace. It is our ability to deliver a wide range of financial alternatives, all with the same uncompromising quality, that makes us what we are. Merrill Lynch, a breed apart.
Minwax makes wood beautiful.
Minwax brings out wood's rich, warm glow, so it's as beautiful to look at as it is to touch. Wood finish by Minwax penetrates deep into wood, so it's easy to get outstanding results. And when topped with our own polyurethane, Minwax protects against life's hard knocks and tough spills, letting wood's natural beauty show through.
Minwax makes wood beautiful.
This commercial is dedicated to new Friskies. With the frisky new taste that has cats dancing in the aisles and jumping for joy. New Friskies have a friskier taste because it's baked right in. Give your cat new Friskies and you'll have a very satisfied cat.
Time now 4 minutes before the hour, and here's the weather forecast.
The Nashville forecast calls for considerable cloudiness, windy, and turning colder today. Temperatures will fall into the low 40s. Tonight will be fair and cold, with the low about 22, and tomorrow sunny and cool, the high around 42.
Well, Pat Collins and I have caught up on all the movies we saw over the weekend now, so I'll let her bring you the entertainment news. It's
Yours
all right.
was much better, really it was. Call it coincidence or just that great minds run on the same small channels. But the New York Film Critics and the Hollywood Foreign Press Association have given almost exactly the same awards to almost exactly the same people in movies. The film critics and the Golden Globers all agreed, for instance, that Terms of Endearment is the best movie of 1983. Shirley MacLaine won Best Actress on both coasts, and Jack Nicholson did likewise for Best Supporting Actor. And I should mention here that the Golden Globe Awards divide actors and movies into dramatic and musical categories. The Hollywood critics chose Yentl as the best musical and Barbra Streisand as the best director for that same work. And Cher won the award as Best Supporting Actress for her role as Meryl Streep's best friend in Silkwood. For a moment, even the glib and the chatty Cher was at a loss for words.
Wait a minute, something will come to me. Just look at my dress until I can think of something.
And we'd like to pay our respects this morning to Miss Ray Dooley, who performed with W.C. Fields, Fanny Brice, and Will Rogers in the Ziegfeld Follies during the 1920s. Miss Dooley died this weekend at her home on Long Island. She was a glorious 93.
Thank you, Pat. And in our next half hour, Maureen Reagan, the president's daughter, tells us about what happened last night.
And Helen Hayes with Pat Collins and Broadway Danny Rose. Did you like it? You don't have to.
No, don't tell us again. Stay
Don't tell us in just a moment.
Tonight on Scarecrow and Miss... Monday nights, we've got all the action beginning at 7 with SEC basketball. Then it's the drama of Emerald Point NAS, followed by the latest news on Eyewitness News at 10. At 10:30, catch comedy at its best on After MASH, with more fun in store on Newhart. Let adventure be your nightcap on Scarecrow and Mrs. King at 11:30. All from your friends, Channel 5.
Picture yourself in this 84 Waller Buick. This remarkable T-type Skyhawk is ready to roll with American engineering, craftsmanship, and dependability. The new generation of Buicks are here. Look at this exciting lineup. The impressive Century, the dynamic Regal, the contemporary LeSabre, the luxurious Park Avenue, and the classic Riviera. Wouldn't you really rather have a Waller Buick?
His drinking has gotten out of control. Where do we go for help?
Now it's drugs, too. Is there any hope?
There is hope. There is help at Parkview, where teenagers and adults begin their recovery from problems with drugs or alcohol. If someone you love has a problem, call Parkview at 1-800-821-2914.
Annie, what are you doing? Someone marked these prices so low, I figured they're wrong. Annie, they're right. In fact, they're up to 10% below competition in Davidson County. Take a look at these darn near wholesale prices.
White Westinghouse's big 20.8 cubic foot freezer is a low $349. Buy now and pay only $399 for this White Westinghouse 17,500 BTU air conditioner. And pay only $354 for this White Westinghouse washer, $252 for the dryer.
Appliances and TVs are darn near wholesale. Their low prices are right.
Channel 5 salutes the Nashville Conference of Christians and Jews.
I never gave it any thought. That's my secret of how to lick age. Just forget it.
Well, she certainly has a secret, I'll tell you that. Helen Hayes will talk with Pat Collins this hour. Talk about being older, talk about squeezing the most out of life. Good morning again. It's Monday, the 30th of January.
Maureen Reagan is going to be with us to give us a perspective of last night's announcement from inside the White House and address the question, perhaps, why do fewer women than men support Ronald Reagan? Pat Collins will have a review of Broadway Danny Rose, legendary entertainment agents. But first, let's get the news.
An attack on the American compound at the Beirut airport left 2 Marines slightly wounded this morning. Grenades and mortar rounds fell on the base, reportedly from Druze militia positions. The Marines shot back with tank and small arms fire. Both of the injured men have been treated and returned to their posts. Republicans gathered at Washington's Mayflower Hotel, and they got the 3 R's last night. Ronald Reagan's running. And they whooped and they hollered and they acted as if it were election night and all the returns were in and their man had won. The president, in a nationally broadcast statement, said he's not yet finished his job and that his running mate will again be George Bush. The president talked about how his administration has cut inflation and strengthened the nation's defenses. And he said it is going to be a tough election. The president seemed to sense that Walter Mondale will be his opponent in the election. He said in a Newsweek interview that Mondale is all things to all people. Mondale picked up the gauntlet, as did John Glenn and Jesse Jackson.
I welcome this debate. I think this administration will find that it's considerably weaker with the American people than they now believe to be the case.
I believe the president's announcement tonight will indeed sharpen the political debate because it takes away all doubt now. To me, the president's statement that America is back is just not good enough.
This administration has been very unkind to the poor, to the young, and to the old, and will be a very vulnerable administration as Campaign 84 expands.
The other Democratic candidates also pounced. Ernest Hollings said, "We cannot afford another 4 years of Hollywood East." More on the Democratic reaction now from Meredith Vieira on the campaign trail in Dubuque, Iowa.
I am therefore announcing that I am a candidate and will seek re-election to the office I presently hold.
As the president spoke in Washington, one of the Democrats who wants his job watched from Iowa. George McGovern and his supporters gathered around a big screen TV for what they called a Stop Reagan rally.
The one great thing that Ronald Reagan has going for him is that he's a lifetime Hollywood actor. And he's sold some strange doctrines to people over the years.
Well, it seems to me that Ronald Reagan has made a new beginning toward taking us backwards.
I can't think of anything more tragic for this country's future than Ronald Reagan in a second term.
Even before the official announcement, the Democrats came out swinging. This was billed as a debate, but it looked and sounded more like a party pep rally.
We share a common goal: to defeat Ronald Reagan, to bring fairness back to America.
Although each candidate claimed he was best qualified to beat Ronald Reagan, they all agreed that there was only one enemy, and he was too busy to notice the Democrats. Whether they liked it or not, last night belonged to the president. Meredith Vieira, CBS News, Dubuque, Iowa.
An all-white jury in Miami today begins hearing a racially sensitive case that has polarized that city for months. Cuban-born policeman Luis Alvarez is on trial for fatally shooting a black man 13 months ago, and that incident set off 3 days of riots in Miami's Overtown ghetto. A Syracuse, New York water department worker is alive but in critical condition this morning after spending more than 30 minutes trapped underwater. Rescuers raced against time to reach Howard Root, who had been repairing a water main break when the manhole suddenly flooded with water. Root had stopped breathing by the time he was pulled out, but his heartbeat was later restored in the ambulance. Another blast of this terrible winter's fury blew into the upper Midwest overnight. Heavy winds and blowing snow are making traveling a nightmare. With more, here's Rob Davis from KCCI TV in Des Moines.
This was one way to get around as the Midwest's latest winter snowstorm blew in from the north and west, bringing with it a half a foot of new snow. But others traveling in bigger rigs didn't have quite so much fun when the weather turned really nasty. By nightfall, the storm's intensity had increased, making travel difficult, if not impossible, as some areas encountered near blizzard conditions. The problem with this storm isn't so much the snow, it's the wind. Here in central Iowa, gusting up to 45 miles per hour. Elsewhere in the state, to over 60 miles per hour. The blowing and drifting snow reduced visibility to near zero in many areas. Even law enforcement officers were ordered off the roads if they weren't already busy tending numerous jackknife trucks and cars in ditches. Truck stops along Interstate 80 were busy as truckers stopped to wait out the worst.
Just ice from here to Omaha, and if it's not ice, it's blowing snow. You can't even see in front of you.
You get over around Colfax and you can't hardly go. There's nothing in the ditch because there isn't that much moving, but it's flat snowpacks and drifting out there.
Conditions improved considerably toward morning as the truckers hit the road and the storm moved east into Illinois and Indiana. Rob Davis for CBS News, Des Moines.
Out in Blythe, California, there is a man with a blithe spirit and a seemingly insatiable appetite for matrimony. Glenn DeMoss Wolfe is listed in the Guinness Record Book as the world's most married man. On Saturday, he did it again, taking his 26th wife. The groom is 75 and a former minister. The bride is 38 and an optimist. We'll be back in a moment.
Time now, 7 minutes past the hour. In just a moment, one of Mr. Reagan's supporters.
Pick up the greatest buys of the year at Rivergate Mall's Last Call Sidewalk Sale, Wednesday through Sunday, February 1st through 5th. The message is savings at Rivergate Mall, I-65 North, exit 96.
I never appreciated architecture until I saw the Taj Mahal. I never really loved flowers until I saw an arrangement from Emma's. Emma's, the superlative florist.
Nashville loved Carmen. Now the New York City Opera Company brings La Boheme to your Performing Arts Center Sunday, February 5th. Don't miss La Boheme.
This is Kermit the Frog, and you can help make sure we'll all have enough clean water. Just write to Kermit, National Wildlife Federation, Washington, D.C. 20036.
Time now, 8 minutes past the hour.
Steve Baskerville has a kind of pinwheel of weather over there, churning like a washing machine.
You know, that is a perfect lead into the jet stream, which is now in effect once more because it is churning cold air deeper into some sections of the country. But if you live in the Rocky Mountain states or the far west or southwest, sunny and delightful weather, and that's going to hold up again today. But as that jet stream churns through the country, you can see where it's going to be awfully stormy in the east and cool weather settling in down south. Now, the radar sites reporting in right now are showing that the snows are really moderate to heavy snow developing in Illinois and parts of Ohio and western Pennsylvania, Cleveland and Cincinnati and Chicago and Pittsburgh all could have some pretty heavy snow as this day wears on, and that storm moves to the northeast. Now, the northeast should have a very divided day, I'll say, because 3 to 6 inches of snow could fall in western Pennsylvania and western New York State, but the temperature is still quite reasonable for this time of year. 34 degrees for New York City and Philadelphia. About 3 inches of snow possible by late evening. In the Midwest, the storm has moved by, but it's also left about 4 to 8 inches of snow in general, but the temperatures haven't really gone down that drastically. About 18 degrees in Fargo, North Dakota for the afternoon high, 39 for Pierce, South Dakota, and most of the Midwest should be just fine. The Deep South clearing out after a whole week of rain last week. Temperatures back up in the 60s and 70s. The far west, couple record breakers yesterday, especially San Diego and all the way up to Portland, Oregon. And the west coast today is going to be just fine, except for a few clouds moving through the Rocky Mountains, but don't worry about those at all. That's a look at the national forecast. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecasts from some locations around the nation.
The Nashville forecast calls for considerable cloudiness, windy, and turning colder today. Temperatures will fall into the low 40s. Tonight will be fair and cold, with the low about 22, and tomorrow sunny and cool, the high around 42.
In Phoenix, Arizona. That takes care of today's weather. What's going to happen tomorrow, and when's the snow going to move out? We'll discuss that in the next half hour. Bill?
Thank you, Steve. Maureen Reagan, the President's daughter, is now a consultant to the Republican National Committee. She's been hired to help with what is perceived as the president's problem with women voters. And she's joining us this morning from Washington. Good morning, Ms. Reagan.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Where did you see the announcement? Were you at the White House?
I was in the Oval Office.
Describe that for us. Who was with you, and what was it like?
Well, there were only 4 of us besides the people who were actually handling the broadcast. There was my husband, Mrs. Reagan, and Jim Baker. And we all sat very quietly, and then the minute the floor manager said, "We're clear," I let out a war whoop.
Were you surprised?
Well, he hadn't ever told anybody, and so I just kept hoping, but then as he started, I thought, oops.
He saved it all the way to the end, made you.
He certainly did, but you know, I'm such a calm, cool, collected person that everybody knew that I wouldn't disrupt the broadcast.
Well, you have been hired as a consultant to deal with a variety of issues. And let me ask a question. Why is it perceived, or why do fewer women than men support the president?
Well, I don't think it's actually the president's problem as much as it's a problem that we've had as a party, and that's why it's very important that we develop party building plans within the Republican National Committee, and that's where I am. According to the figures that we have seen and to what the Democrats actually say, 60% of their voters are women. So for some reason, over the last 5 to 10 years, women have been choosing the Democratic Party over the Republican Party, and we'd like to change that.
How? How are you going to?
Well, I think the main thing that we should and can be doing immediately is to work with our women office holders throughout the country. Just a little less than half of the elected women in the country are Republican. So considering our differential in registration, we've done very well in electing good women to office. And as on our side of the aisle as on the other, those women very often feel they got there with no help from anybody. They have particular problems of getting serious press attention, raising money, and developing issues that are really of particular interest to them. And so if we want to show and change the perception that women don't participate in this party, which indeed they do, then I think these people are our key. And so we've been working with them to develop campaign plans that will help them, and also to bring them into the decision-making process so that when we develop our platform material in 1984, we will have a consensus of those women.
Perceptions are hard to change, aren't they? There's one that's being pushed by the Democrats that Mr. Reagan favors the rich over the poor. Now, how would you change that?
Well, I'm not rich, and I sure like to tax cut, so that is something that, again, people have to decide for themselves. But the vast majority of the people in this country are middle class. They are people who are buying homes and cars and starting businesses, and I think they do see that things are better.
What about the deficits? How are you going to handle that? That Mr. Reagan brought the recovery, perhaps, but also pushed us into the huge deficits.
Well, unfortunately, I've been one of those people for the last 20 years who has been talking about things like deficits and the fact that programs that were instituted as long a time ago as 20 years, with the price tags that were attached and the increases in spending that were projected, I was one of those people who kept saying by 1985 you will have spent this many more dollars than there is available for you to spend. So it's not exactly a new issue to us. I think the deficits are very serious. I do think that a lot of it is built in, and until the Congress is willing to take a very careful look at the cost of living increases on programs that they have developed and pushed for many, many years, and until members of Congress are willing to, as John Tower asked, I want to see the first person who'll stand up and say, I don't need any more money for military bases in my district. Until they're willing to really come to the negotiating table and speak seriously on this subject, I don't think we're going to have the kind of deficit control that we should have. I would hope that they will. I think that certainly the olive branch has been laid out to them, and let's see if they come and talk.
In the last few seconds we have, would you cut the defense budget?
Well, again, I think that there are probably things in every budget that could be cut, but I wouldn't want to go on record as being in favor of one over another.
We won't make you go on record then. Maureen Reagan, thanks for joining us this morning. Good luck. We'll be right back.
Now a quarter past the hour, and next, the nightmare of Yoko Ono after the death of John Lennon.
Get us, you know, just because we're peaceniks, really.
You don't ask for special.
Don't take chances when your fine rugs need cleaning. Trust them, the Blazer Brothers Expert Rug Cleaners. Your carpets not only will look better when they're properly cleaned, they'll actually last years longer. The Blazer family has been Nashville's #1 rug cleaner for 3/4 of a century. When your heavy furniture or wall-to-wall carpeting needs cleaning, Blazer Brothers Cleaning Pros will come to your home, and you'll always receive a 25% cash and carry discount. Blazer Brothers can also expertly repair your rugs. When Mr. J.H. Blazer cleaned his first rug back in 1909, chances are he never dreamed that his business would grow into an automatic cleaning plant that can handle 20 rugs an hour. But the philosophy at Blazer Brothers remains the same. If it's a quality rug, it deserves quality care. Come by Blazer Brothers at 919 Main Street or call us at 262-0447.
We're at the scene of a Shopsmith Mark V woodworking demonstration, and all sorts of people turn out to see it. The 5-in-1 Mark V power woodworking system. It's the full-size table saw, horizontal boring machine, a big 34-inch capacity wood lathe, disc sander, vertical drill press. Come see it for yourself.
Save big at the free Shopsmith demonstration during Woodworker Value Week, February 1st through 4th at 100 Oak Shopping Center. And we'll give you a free gift just for coming by.
Spurlock & Carter, specialists for 45 years, can add value, beauty, and enjoyment to your home with a custom-designed patio cover, carport, or breezeway. Don't move, improve with a custom-designed carport for your convenience and year-round protection. Add more family space with a breezeway or patio enclosure for indoor-outdoor living. Spurlock & Carter Tradition, the quality touch that guarantees so much. For free estimates and free planning, call Spurlock & Carter 254-7504. The Answer People.
Love me like she did.
After John Lennon was murdered on December 8, 1980, Yoko Ono said she thought it was the worst thing that could ever happen, but she now says that was only the beginning. A remarkable article in the March issue of Playboy reveals the terrors, torments, and miseries that descended on Yoko Ono and her fractured family, and it was written by David and Victoria Sheff, who join us this morning from KPIX in San Francisco. Mr. and Mrs. Sheff, thank you very much for coming in. Mr. Sheff, to start with you, it was only a day after her husband was murdered that she had the first threat on her life.
That's right. And judging from the fact that John and Yoko stood for such things for so many people as peace, things that sound almost a cliche now, and love, and trying to work for a better world, it was just uncanny and bizarre and tragic that the last 3 years have been one betrayal after another, constant threats beginning, as you say, with the day after John died. A man was getting on an airplane in Los Angeles and was stopped on his way to New York to, he said, finish the job Mark Chapman began.
And indeed, several people have been arrested with guns in the neighborhood or with letters of threats on them at various times.
That's right, and it has made life for Yoko and her son Sean just a nightmare that I don't think many of us can comprehend. It's a life filled with security guards 24 hours a day. We reported in the article that the first year after John died, Yoko was forced to spend something like $1 million on security alone, and since then it's increased.
Mrs. Sheff, you mentioned the betrayals, Mr. Sheff. It is, as you say, an astonishing story of bodyguards who ended up taking letters, of personal assistants who robbed her of not only audio amplifiers, but as diaries, all of the personal letters, tapes that they had.
Yes.
The nanny at one point betrayed her as well.
Well, yes, actually, one of the criminals that had stolen the material, a lot of the precious material, John's personal diaries and love letters to Yoko and everything, his aunt was Sean's nanny, and of course the family was decided to protect her nephew, and so therefore she did betray Yoko as well.
Mr. Sheff, if I can close by asking you about what it seems to me is the most horrifying, I think, of all of the things that have happened. Tell us about the letter from Mark David Chapman.
There were, in this investigation that went on for a good year, we uncovered several communications from Chapman. First of all, to Yoko Ono. Bizarrely, he wrote to her after the murder and apologized for what he'd done. Then he wrote to her, and again, bizarrely, it's hard to comprehend these things, but he wrote to her, the assassin wrote to the widow, asking to cooperate with him in writing a book and somehow releasing his material. And the most bizarre thing we uncovered of all was the discovery of a letter that was written from New York City 4 months before John was killed that had the return address Mark David Chapman, Dakota Apartment Building, New York, New York. The letter, of course, suggested that there was something going on well before anyone had any sense of a Mark David Chapman. Then we saw this letter again. The letter, by the way, spoke about Chapman's mission in New York. The letter then disappeared for a week, and we saw it again. And the letter had been changed, and it was changed to say that it was postmarked then about 6 months after John died, and the implications of that are serious. We have some major outstanding questions on why someone would have a stake in not letting it known that Chapman was communicating about Lennon's death before he died.
The Chefs, we thank you again for coming in this morning, and we'll be back.
22 past the hour. Next, Pat Collins with a...
Danny, what are you doing?
Someone marked these prices so low, I figured they're wrong.
Danny, they're right. In fact, they're up to 10% below competition in Davidson County. Take a look at these darn near wholesale prices.
Right now, pay only $466 for this Quasar 25-inch console TV. Or save on this Quasar 40-inch projection TV, now only $21.11. And get Quasar's portable VCR with tuner, just $725.
Appliances and TVs are darn near wholesale. Their low prices are right.
Hi, folks. Everybody knows there's copies and there's originals. And if you want to buy a high-quality, low-price used car, in Middle Tennessee, the original is Star Chrysler Plymouth. And how about this? $99 down and $99 a month for this 1978 Chevy Nova. And how about this LeBaron? Folks, only $99 down and $99 a month. It's gorgeous. So if you want to buy from the original, you call me now.
Woody Allen's new movie, Broadway Danny Rose. Well, it opened on Friday. Pat Collins is going to tell us whether we should go see it.
Oh, yes, thank you. This is Woody Allen as Damon Runyon on Rye, a funny, often downright hilarious movie about a Broadway dreamer who will get no closer to Carnegie Hall than the Carnegie Delicatessen, which is where the movie begins. The story of Danny Rose is told by a group of Catskill comics who have settled in for a long winter's nosh. Danny Rose, that's Mr. Allen, is an agent, a personal manager of acts The Gong Show wouldn't deign to audition. Oh, there's the world's worst ventriloquist, so bad he's booed by 5-year-olds, and of course the husband and wife balloon folding act. If Danny has a hot property in his stable, it is Lou Canova, a pudgy crooner of the Peter Lemongello School of Music. Lou is making something of a comeback, singing his 50s hit, Agita. As improbable as it seems, Danny convinces Milton Berle to consider Lou for his next special. And that's when the fun begins, with Danny assigned to Lou's current distraction from his wife, a hard-nosed blonde named Tina, who is all hairspray and dark glasses and appears to only know men in the cement business. Tina is played to perfection by Mia Farrow.
Boy, that guy Johnny must have really been crazy about you.
I don't know. Yeah, I like to flirt, you know. Sometimes people take it too seriously. Johnny's all right. He was really nice to me when my marriage fell apart.
Yes, and what did your husband do?
A little bookmaking, some loan sharking, some extortion, like that.
So you're a professional man. What'd you do? You divorced him, or you got a separation, or what?
Some guy shot him in the eyes.
Really? He's blind?
Dead.
He's dead, of course, because the bullets go right through.
Bullseye for Mr. Allen, who gives his best performance since Annie Hall and surrounded himself with a fine cast of known talent and some unknown surprises, including Nick Apollo Ford as Lou and Broadway entrepreneur Gerald Schoenfeld as Danny's more successful rival. It's hard to unseat Danny Rose as the best comedy of this new year. It's fun.
We'll all traipse down there today.
Yes, in the snow. I'll see it again. I'll take it.
Glad to hear such a positive review. Coming up.
This is an Eyewitness News Update, brought to you by Sharon Mattress, manufacturer and fabricator of fine bedding and upholstery.
Good morning, I'm John Megley. In the news at 7:25, brace yourself for gusty wind if you're going to be going out today. The weather forecast calls for considerable cloudiness and temperatures falling into the low 40s. The wind will make it feel a lot colder than it really is. We'll have more weather later in this news update. The Lawrence County Board of Commissioners is scheduled to meet later today to talk about problems facing schools there. Lawrence County will lose state money beginning the first of the month if it doesn't firm up a plan to repair dilapidated and unsafe school buildings. The school board is seeking the Commission's help on this pressing issue. The hourglass is running out because the first of the month is Wednesday, so some kind of action could be taken later today. There's lingering concern in Williamson County over the safety of school buses. Last week, the whole fleet of buses except one passed a safety inspection. But a county official is now questioning if that state inspection was done properly. The county commissioner hopes to meet today with officials from the State Transportation Department to remove any doubt. Les Heinz has been following this for us.
The buses which will be on the road in Williamson County have all been approved by the state. That safety inspection took place last week in response to some concerned parents. This is one of the buses which passed that inspection. The driver is Brent Rader. He says, inspection or not, the bus he's driving should not be on the road.
You see this hole right here? There's a wire coming through it. That's electrical wire.
Right next to the battery.
If that shorts out, that could set the engine afire.
And during last week's inspection, Rader says he told the state inspector there was a problem with the rear brakes. The left brake was checked. The right one was not.
I still have a problem with the right rear sliding.
In addition to that, Rader says the front tires are bald and the steering wheel has been improperly repaired. All but one school bus in Williamson County passed last week's state inspection. School officials called it a clean bill of health. But because some school bus drivers are disagreeing with that assessment, that state inspection may have to be done all over again. That possibility was brought up after County Commissioner Harry Morrill inspected this bus. He found an exhaust system that was leaking fumes and a steering wheel which was apparently very loose.
I'd like to know if the state man can show me where this bus is safe, then I'll accept it. They were not really fixed properly when they were fixed.
Is this bus safe to... Would you want your kid riding on this bus?
Not very long.
But Morrill says his concern is not just for this particular bus, but for the entire school bus fleet in Williamson County. Les Heinz, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
Why does Sharon Mattress always have a much lower price on their high-standard bedding? Simple. Sharon Mattress is also a factory, so they can afford to sell at wholesale prices every day on every bedding set they make. Before you buy any mattress, compare Sharon's quality, service, warranty, and wholesale prices, like these examples here.
Sharon Mattress is giving you the best for the royal rest of your life. For instance, their full-size royal with 405 coils is just $149. Queens, $179.
The Metro ambulance service may soon get help as it tries to improve emergency medical care. Measures are being taken to hire a physician and a nurse to oversee the quality of service and coordinate emergency care with area hospitals. According to Metro Fire Chief Fred Davis, the physician would act as a coordinator on a part-time basis. The nurse would probably be a full-time employee of General Hospital. A search committee is expected to be watching for applicants to fill those positions. Checking our current weather conditions, it's 46 degrees and cloudy in Nashville. The relative humidity is 60%. The wind is from the west at 21 miles an hour, gusting to 25 miles per hour. And the barometer 29.78, and it's rising. The Nashville forecast calls for considerable cloudiness today. It'll be windy and turn colder with temperatures falling into the low 40s. Tonight will be fair and cold with the low near 22. And tomorrow will be sunny and cool with the high around 42. Our next news will be the midday report at 11. I hope you'll clear some time to join Brenda Blackman, Phil Stanley, and me. Brenda will have a report for us today on a display of old inventions that's going on right now at the Cumberland Museum. I'm John Megley. Have a good morning. And don't forget, it's going to be mighty windy today, so don't let it fool you.
This was an Eyewitness News update. Brought to you by Sharon Mattress, manufacturer and fabricator of fine bedding and upholstery.
How's that for a beautiful shot? They swim the coast of California south to Mexico to spawn and then make the return trip. And if you're very, very lucky, you can get a glimpse of these magnificent mammals of the deep while they pause to breathe at the surface. We're going to do just that this morning, setting out from San Pedro into the Santa Catalina Channel and look at whales.
Have you ever seen it?
I have.
yourself?
I've actually gone up in a blimp, too. And then if you go as a tourist out to Los Angeles, you can go out on a boat or a blimp if you're really lucky and look down at these behemoths of the deep. They're great.
Also in this half hour, Pat Collins will be talking with Helen Hayes. We will meet a couple who arrange mail-order brides, and you will see some fantastically furnished rooms. But wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? We'll take a look. We'll surprise you in just a moment.
Jacksonville, Florida's water supply may have been tainted as the result of a chemical fire at an electrical plant. Health officials today are trying to determine the extent of the contamination. The inferno destroyed the factory and exploded storage drums that the authorities believe had contained PCBs, chemicals suspected of causing cancer. Firemen say PCBs drained into a nearby rainwater culvert that flows into Jacksonville's public water system. 3 crewmen were killed today aboard a commuter plane that crashed and burned a few miles east of Terre Haute, Indiana. Authorities say the twin-engine craft operated by Brit Airways had just taken off from a private airport. No passengers aboard. The commuter plane was headed to Evansville, Indiana. In Lebanon this morning, American Marines traded fire with militias to the south and east of their Beirut base. A spokesman says the Marine compound was attacked by Syrian-backed forces using mortars and rocket-propelled grenades. The Marines opened up with tank cannons and small arms fire. No American casualties were reported. The Vatican has denied allegations that it helped some accused Nazi war criminals escape after World War II. One of those involved was Walter Roth, who said he was harbored for a year and a half in a Vatican convent after the war. 2 Jesuit priests who studied Vatican documents related to the war rebutted statements in a 1947 State Department report. One of the priests, Father Robert Graham, said the statements were propagandistic maneuvers by people trying to crucify the Roman Catholic Church. A group calling for the United States to leave El Salvador is claiming responsibility for a New York City bombing last night. A Motorola service center was damaged, but no one was hurt. Just before the explosion, a man called UPI to say the United Freedom Front set the bomb in a campaign against warmongers and profiteers. The group has also claimed that it planted 3 other bombs in the New York area in the last 2 years. In Dallas, lawyers for Linnell Jeter say they will reveal new evidence today to prove Jeter was on the job the day he is alleged to have held up a restaurant. Jeter was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment on the robbery charge. He was released on bond after his story was broadcast by the CBS News broadcast 60 Minutes. A new trial was set for April 9th. If you have been asleep or out of touch since last night, We'll let you in on the secret. President Reagan has formally declared he is running for another 4 years, and Vice President Bush will be on the ticket with him again. The president's daughter, Maureen Reagan, says she didn't know, actually, until he spoke what the word would be. She was in the Oval Office last night, and she stopped by this morning to tell us about the scene at the White House.
We all sat very quietly, and then the minute the floor manager said, "We're clear," I let out a war whoop.
Were you surprised?
He hadn't ever told anybody, and so I just kept hoping, but then as he started, I thought, oops.
He saved it all the way to the end.
He certainly did.
Another prominent Republican says he won't make a re-election bid. Barry Goldwater was first elected to the Senate from Arizona in 1952. Goldwater is 75. He has had health problems recently. When asked if he will try to retain the seat in the 1986 election, he replied, "Hell no." In a moment, Helen Hayes.
Time now 35 minutes past the hour. Helen Hayes won her first Oscar for The Sin of Madelon Claudet in 1931. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by Kellogg's Nutri-Grain cereal, dedicated to the ones you love.
Do I care about the foods he eats? Do I care if he gets too much sugar? Sure I do. Each night before I go to bed, my baby. In the morning, he gets Nutri-Grain cereal. Show you that I care for you, my baby.
Nutri-Grain from Kellogg's. No sugar added, no preservatives. Nothing comes between you and its whole grain good taste.
This is dedicated to the one I love.
Nutri-Grain. Why not dedicate it to the one you love?
Tie game, last inning, Mudville's up. There's a signal from the bench. Could be a squeeze play. Here's the pitch. Mudville wins it!
We're here in the Mudville locker room.
Make that mud room.
What's your lineup for tomorrow?
Clean uniforms. No problem with my heavy-duty white Westinghouse washer. It'll even get this kind of dirt out, so we can play clean.
And me. White Westinghouse. We're making things better for you.
If you started out with a little business that just offered savings accounts and mortgages, and then you added such banking services as savings certificates, checking accounts, money market accounts, consumer loans, financial and retirement planning, automated tellers, investment services, direct deposit, and maybe most important of all, U.S. government insured safety, then you'd be giving people the service they've come to expect from us. Your nearby federally insured savings institution.
Sodium can turn up where you least expect it, even in your antacid tablet. Looking for an antacid without sodium? Tums is sodium-free, and it also neutralizes 1/3 more stomach acid than the other leading brand. Tums lets you do without the heartburn and without all that sodium. And for liquid strength in a tablet, Tums EX.
Time now exactly 37 minutes past the hour.
Now look, this is no ordinary room. It's a perfect reproduction of a Louis XV grand salon. But it is in miniature. And it is worth as much as most houses, $70,000. This room and hundreds like it are the work of artist Eugene Kupchak. Each work, like the turn-of-the-century Chinese laundry, can take up to 3 months to build. The pieces are researched, recreated by hand at a scale of 1 inch to a foot. All the work done by Kupchak and his 2 sons. Napoleon himself might have just walked out of this Empire salon, decorated in the imperial style he preferred. The marble walls are worked in real gold, and the hat and sword are exact replicas of Napoleon's own. This room is worth $45,000. 30 of the Kupchak miniatures have been drawing record crowds at New York's Winter Antique Show. That show closed last night, but the rooms will head next to a February exhibit in Palm Beach, Florida. So if you hear of it heading your way, you might want to stop in and take a look. Look at the glass, look at the crystal.
Amazing.
It really is stunning. What is it that attracts us all so about miniaturization?
You know, those little tiny snowflakes that I'm going to have
building up outside of that room. You can just see it now. Maybe a room without windows is what some of us would prefer today. But let's take a look at what's happening now. There is a storm that's moving out of the upper Midwest, and 3 to 6 inches of snow is likely from Chicago all the way over to Snowshoe, West Virginia, which is a very fitting name of a place today. There's that low. It's going to be moving in that direction up towards New England. I'll tell you more about it in just a minute. But other than that, the weather is delightful as far west as you can go once you leave El Paso, because there's some light rain showers falling there now, about 57 degrees by the time the day is over. But gorgeous weather in that part of the country. 81 degrees yesterday in San Diego. It's going to be that warm maybe today. Take a look at some of the weather to watch this afternoon as you head east. Please be careful, because the storm warnings are going to be in effect for that area that I just showed you. The winter storm watch could be in place for New York and eastern Pennsylvania and parts of Delaware and Maryland as well. And as that storm moves by, high winds are circulating behind it up to 35, 40 miles per hour. Now, that's only half of the story, because it's going to be much colder. The cold wave really digging in down south. 32 degrees for the freezing line is way down here now, approaching northern Florida. And mostly the Rockies are going to see some teen readings today, but that's only in a higher elevation. 40 to 50 degree readings are going to be quite common down as far south as southern California, but still, that is not too bad at all. Other than that, most of the weather that you're going to see popping up on the screen behind me isn't going to be some that's going to be too unreasonable by the time tomorrow noon approaches, because that low is going to be moving up towards New England. That's where the snow line is going to cut off. Look at those temperatures, about 29 degrees for parts of West Virginia, 37 in Memphis, Tennessee. They're getting lower, everybody. That's a look at the national forecast. Here's a look at some temperatures and forecast for some locations around the nation.
The Nashville forecast calls for considerable cloudiness, windy, and turning colder today. Temperatures will fall into the low 40s. Tonight will be fair and cold, with the low about 22, and tomorrow sunny and cool, the high around 42.
I don't know if that's a fitting way to start this week, but if you have to stay in one of those rooms, this is a perfect day to do it.
If that's the best you can do, Steve. We're still exclaiming over these tiny little shirts that they created. But here's someone larger than life. On Friday, Helen Hayes completed her 600th radio broadcast in her new role as the replacement for the late Lowell Thomas. And as Pat tells us, it's amazing but not surprising for such a woman of infinite parts.
Nothing she does surprises me. She is amazing. In 1971, Helen Hayes retired from the theater, having been on stage since 1905. But Miss Hayes has not retired from anything else. There are still movies and TV shows to do, and of course her radio program, the title of which is The Best Years. And in her 84th year, Miss Hayes symbolizes what the show is all about. And any woman who has the range to do 12th Night, Victoria Regina, Harvey, and Herbie the Love Bug is a woman whose advice I'll take any day.
Number 2, retiring husbands and working wives. Take 1.
Hello, this is Helen Hayes. Should women who work outside the home give it all up when their husbands retire?
I think that I've found a second career in my radio pieces. I'm constantly urging the older people. Isn't it funny that we're self-conscious about saying old? Why can't I just say the old folk like me? Well, anyway, I'm constantly urging them to find a second career so that they'd be ready for retirement and can do something else. If it's just wood carving or playing jacks or anything you can do to have a goal after your real job is over, your lifelong job. So I've found that I have found one for myself quite by accident. I've stumbled into it.
In 1971, you did your last play, Long Day's Journey into Night. Why did you retire from the theater?
Well, I was ordered off. You know, I was benched by a doctor down in Washington. I was in the middle of rehearsals for that. And I had one more of those terrible asthmatic bronchial asthma attacks. So this doctor discovered what it was, and he said, don't go back and do that play. Just don't walk in a theater again, ever, if you want a few more years of enjoyment in this world. Well, I certainly did, because I enjoy the world a lot. Don't want to be snatched away from it too soon.
Leaving the theater, your first love, must have been a crushing decision to make.
Well, I was dazed at the idea, and I was a little frightened of the future. I didn't know how I was going to live because without it, you're a communicator if you're an actor. you have to communicate. You have to have an audience.
We switch to
And then
recreation.
I began to find wonderful substitutes. I'm so happy with my radio and an occasional television show to just keep my hand in to have a meeting ground with the public.
What's the biggest change in you from the age of 40 to now?
People think I seem younger than I did at 40.
Really?
Because I think it's because I don't feel any desperate responsibility as I did when I was a star of a play. You know, that's a very heavy responsibility, and I'd had it since the age of 21 till I quit at 72. So that's a lot of years to be responsible for the jobs of all the people involved in the play, the producer's investment, and the public who expect the best of you because they trust you. And if you let them down, you're heartsick about that. So there was that terrific, onerous responsibility. And I don't have that anymore.
Can you think of one or two things that you wanted to do but couldn't because you were Helen Hayes?
I know the one thing that stands out that I would love to do every once in a while is just turn around and say, I'm not coming to your party. You know, I had or your fundraising event, and though you're this or you're that. I don't want that award you want to give me. I'm not going to take it. Oh, I'd love to do that sometime. Just, yeah. But, no, I don't. There was a wonderful man I knew in the theater, John Golden, who told me once that he had an answer for invitations like that. He'd say, I wish I wanted to go to your dinner, but I don't. That's the one I'd love to use sometime.
There's a great story that Ruth Gordon, her good friend, tells about a time Ruth was her house guest at her beautiful home in Nyack, New York, overlooking the Hudson. Huge storm raging outside. And Ruth was a wreck and said, Helen, do something about this. So Helen opened the doors of the veranda and said, be still, you trees, or something like that. And 5 seconds later, there wasn't anything. That was the end of the storm. Maybe Steve could use Helen, you know, in the day-to-day weather forecast. That was it. 5 minutes later, there was nothing.
Pat, I wish I wanted to let you go on, but I don't because I have to go to commercial. We'll be back with Men and Their Mail-Order Brides.
That's the gracious turn.
Now 14 minutes before the hour, born on this date, Gene Hackman and Tammy Grimes. This portion of the CBS Morning News is sponsored by Underalls, pantyhose and panties all in one.
Keep your world beautiful. Wear Underalls.
I'll never understand how they did this.
Kellogg's Crispix is crispy times 2.
Maybe, then again, no.
Crispix is crispy times 2.
Only Crispix cereal holds the crunch of corn on one side, the crackle of rice on the other. In some wonderful way, Kellogg's doubled what crisp used to be.
Very clever, those Kellogg's.
Only Crispix is crispy times 2.
Is your refrigerator like mine? Like a revolving door? Well, I make sure when they go in, they come out with what's good for them. Ocean Spray cranberry drinks.
Cranapple.
That's good for you. With no artificial preservatives. Just the fresh fruit taste of real fruit.
Cran grape!
That's good for you.
Lunchtime!
Snack time.
Halftime. Anytime. The more they drink, the better I feel.
At home or on the go. It's good for you, America, from Ocean Spray.
Recently, when some of America's top corporations were choosing a charge card for their executives, one card stood out. Corning Glass clearly saw the benefits of a card honored worldwide. United Technologies was very high on the financial freedom of its flexible spending limit. And because it's from Citicorp, it appealed to the hard-driving executives at Mack Trucks. Apply for a Diners Club card. Because what works for the executives at these corporations will work for you. Citicorp Diners Club, when you mean business.
The Nashville forecast calls for considerable cloudiness, windy, and turning colder today. Temperatures will fall into the low 40s. Tonight will be fair and cold, with the low about 22, and tomorrow sunny and cool, the high around 42.
We have a very interesting story for you right now, but first let me introduce you to two couples who have joined us, Louis and Tessie Florence, and John and Felina Line. Now, the unusual thing about these couples is that the brides are mail-order brides, arranged just like the turn of the century through catalogs, and you tell us about it, Louis. Why would you do that?
Well, I started this by placing an ad in the Philippines, and Tess was the first lady to respond out of 400 letters that I received. And in a period of 6 months, we exchanged 350 letters, 50 tapes, 1-hour tapes. And by the time I got to the Philippines, it was as though we had known each other all our lives. And that resulted in our marriage. And since then, we started our organization that has resulted in excess of 750 marriages.
We always thought that it went out with the turn of the century, but this is bringing back the old habits. What motivated you? Why? Were you tired of American women?
I had been very unhappily married to a lady from the United States for 23 years, and following my children's going into college, I started to date many American ladies, and I was completely turned off by their attitudes. Therefore, I looked to the Far East and discovered in the Philippines and Malaysia, it was English-speaking countries. The ladies were well-educated, and I pursued looking for my life partner there.
We'll talk to your wives in just a moment, but John, let's find out your motivation too. Were you tired of the women's liberation movement as well?
Yes, I found most women who were self-centered, and they couldn't give enough of themselves of that which is required to be in love. They were preoccupied with alimony and child support and their ex-husbands and children. They didn't have time in their lives. So I wanted to find someone who had no past, no ties, and that's what I found.
Now, Tess and Felina, let's hear from you. These sound like pretty strong gentlemen with opinions of their own. Has this worked out for you?
Yes. Yes, I've been dreaming in my life to find someone who can love me and whom I can love, who can trust and be faithful to me. I had my relationship with my fellow men, and my analysis is maybe because we have population imbalance. They think that anyway I can find others.
What happened to love as a reason to get married?
Between the two of us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The love that I expected was there. I love him and he loves me, and there's trust, and he's very understanding, and most of all, very faithful.
Felina,
yes.
Did you come into this relationship because of love or because of economic problems?
Sure, love.
And you came to the United States as a mail-order bride?
Yeah.
Loving John that you had not met before?
Yes, of course.
How's it, describe it for her, has it worked out?
Oh, yeah. I have a boyfriend before, and I love him, but he don't love me like just the way I love him. So I decided to correspond as American, and yeah, I think I feel in love better than my boyfriend before.
And you have all lived happily ever after. This is probably the one interview that I hate to end more than any of the others. Diane and I are always frustrated in not having time, but we could go on and on and on. Thank you.
Thank you for having
both couples very much, and we wish you the best. In a moment, we'll see the whales from your part of the country, California.
Time now 7 minutes before the hour, and tomorrow on the CBS Morning News, author Sidney Sheldon.
As a 9-hour miniseries.
For the junior executive who's vowed to be a vice president by the end of the fiscal year. For the VP who's vowed to be a senior VP by the time she's 39. For the chairman who must ultimately face the shareholders. For all the things that success brings, the anxious upset stomachs that come with thumping heads, and thumping heads that come with anxious upset stomachs, there are the medicines of Alka-Seltzer. Alka-Seltzer, for the symptoms of stress that can come from success.
We asked some famous cats what cat food they ask for by name.
Meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. Say meow. Meow, meow.
Even cats who could get anything ask only for one thing by name, Meow Mix brand cat food, because only Meow Mix has the combination of tuna, liver, and chicken, 3 flavors cats love best.
Meow, meow, meow.
Yes.
Time for your 10:30 meeting.
What? It can't be. It's only
10:29.
10:29.
Introducing Kiwi Cream Shoe Polish. The first shoe polish created specifically for the office. It's fast, it's easy, it's neat. And it'll give you a genuine paste wax shine in no time, which is what you usually have.
They're waiting.
I'm ready.
New Kiwi Cream Shoe Polish. The office polish. Available in 6 colors.
The secret's vitamin E.
Every little vitamin every day.
Massive doses.
Whatever you hear about vitamins, you take them for nutritional support. But only Myadec gives you so many vitamins and minerals, and so much of each, that you get the highest level of nutritional support of any leading vitamin mineral brand.
That's why Myadec is the professional formula.
From Park Davis, helping your pharmacist and your doctor help your health.
Now, precisely 5 minutes before the hour.
Just about now, I think they would be reaching Southern California. Been a long, tiring journey from the cold Pacific waters off Alaska. Their destination is a warm ocean off Mexico, but for a very short season. Herds of giant gray whales are giving whale watchers the show of the year.
There's a blow. 2.
Yeah, those two are together. There's no doubt about that.
Once these magnificent animals were almost extinct, but for almost 40 years they have been protected from hunters. Now there are an estimated 16,000 gray whales in the North Pacific, almost as many as there were when commercial whaling began.
Blowholes, dorsal knuckles, and a fluke. Barnacles, they really don't hurt the whale, but the only thing, real damage they do to the whale is they produce drag. They slow the whale down. And that's one of the reasons why scientists think the whale breaches every once in a while to knock the parasites off. But no one really knows why the whale jumps out of the water or breach.
Gray whales spend the summers feeding in Alaskan waters. Then, in early winter, these 50-ton animals swim south at a speed of 4 to 6 miles an hour. 3 months later, they reach Mexico, where their babies are born. Whales are mammals and have to breathe air, so it's only 20% of the time when they come up for air that you even have a chance to see one.
As far as we know, they do not have a tight family unit. The strongest family tie is between the mother and the calf. The mother stays with the calf, feeding it milk, which is between 45 and 53% butterfat. The baby grows very quickly, and she stays with the baby, traveling up with it, back up to the Alaskan waters, and probably weans the baby at 7 or 8 months of age.
There's something that is so majestic about a whale. Just so beautiful. And if I have troubles, I'll just come down here and look at the whales and think how small I am compared to how beautiful and big they are. They own that water. It's always been theirs.
Looks like Scammons Lagoon down there. That's where they head. They are majestic. And as I say, those tours on the boats are available to go out if you want to fly out tomorrow.
Is that an invitation?
Fly out tomorrow? Sidney Sheldon tomorrow, I guess. And the newest thing on the American something. The super van. That's what it was.
Right. Also coming up tomorrow, we'll bring you up to date on the latest research and development in fast foods. But why don't we leave you this morning where Bill Curtis's heart is, out on the coast, watching the magnificent denizens of the deep. And we hope it's smooth sailing for you today, and that you join us here again tomorrow.
Dorsal ridge. And the fluke. Oh, great shot of the fluke that time.
You get that, Dan? There's one up
there. Research scientists disturb hibernating bears in search of answers to human medical problems. The story tonight on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Tuesday, a special 3-hour world premiere.
Michael York and Richard Thomas in the classic tale of adventure, revenge, and love, The Master of Ballantrae, Tuesday.
This is CBS.
Get this deluxe Speed Queen washer and save $40 at your favorite Speed Queen dealer now. This fully featured washer is a heavy-duty, extra-capacity, multiple-cycle washer with a stainless steel tub that's guaranteed for life. The same washer used in coin-operated laundries. Save $40 off the regular price now during this limited-time offer. Visit your favorite Speed Queen dealer today.
See the Speed Queen washer at Famous State Sales, Nashville, and Watson Home Center, Springfield.
Who's old-fashioned? We are. It's old-fashioned bargain days here at the Furniture Center. Remember the good old days when prices were low? Well, look at this.
This dinette has a glass top with brass base and upholstered chairs with rattan backs, only $349. This Hallmark heater is only $88, and the 18,000 BTU is sale priced at just $138. Two names you can trust, Hallmark and Furniture Center.
This year's best values, old-fashioned prices, here at the Furniture Center.
Your Middle Tennessee Chevy dealer is taking charge.
Chevy fever, Chevy power, Chevy style.
Look beyond the ordinary. Gaze on reflections of driving pleasure. Capture the magic only Chevrolet creates with Camaro, Cavalier, and Celebrity. Chevy fever.
Coming at you.
Chevy power.
Grabbing hold.
Chevy style.
Taking charge.
Catch the fever. See your Middle Tennessee Chevy dealers where today's Chevrolet is taking charge.
Channel 5 salutes the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation.
Everybody in this audience has a money stake in one of our celebrity couples. Playing for the red section from Capitol, Richard Egan and his wife Patricia. Playing for the yellow section, Fred Travelina, his wife Lois. And playing for the blue section, David Doyle and his wife Ann. Places, please. As we play the game of celebrity gossip, Tattletale. And now here's the star of Tattletales, Bert Conway.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. I thank you all, and welcome to Tattletales. It is nice to have you.